All right, welcome everybody to the March 24th Octant community meeting. Today we are cutting a release. So we're going to talk about that, see if anyone has any demos or features they'd like to call out. Let me share the agenda and we will get started. So let's make that a little bigger. Okay, so today is O.18 release. It's a pretty good release. I was gonna pull up we haven't made the release PR yet, but that'll probably happen in the next few hours. We have a good set of lots of changes in this one. So I can actually show some of this on might be good to show some of it on our so documentation. Actually, this is fixed now, I think, thanks to Felipe. So now I can actually click the link and go over to the reference site. The reference site is updated off from our main upstream tracking branch. So you'll see some of the newer stuff in here, even though it isn't officially released yet. So I was just going to show some of that through Storybook. Sam added just the standard accordion. It's very similar to it's actually a child of or a parent to the stepper, but without the form elements and the prompts to go to the next one. So that's Clarity actually implements it in the back end in the same way. So we just expose the actual raw accordion element for people to use for putting data into their fields. There's a few, I'm trying to remember all so you can do the allow multiple expanded, which I think in our example we have set to false. But if I flip that to true, where's this config rows there? Yeah, allow multiple expanded, true. So now I should see that they both expand. So Sam, thanks for that one. Let's see. We've also got, it's got updated. We're gonna, let's see. That was already there. That was already there. Was there? Was there icons? So Luis added the ability for just a straight icon component. Now, currently by itself, this is more of like a prep for other features coming. So right now it is just an icon. You can't it will work anywhere you can put a component, but you can't easily embed it with into text or easily use it within other parts of Octant. One area where you can easily use it is for example, in titles. You can now stick an icon component in a title and have it render out, which was difficult. You could do it before. You had to use Markdown Escape to HTML to do it. So, but yeah, so this supports, it's currently based on Clarity 4. It supports all of the standard fields. Status is the one that has optional things where when you change status, it will use the Clarity status indicators instead of the color you provide. So you can see now it went to yellow because it's warning. So status will take precedence over color, but we do also allow just free form explicitly setting color. All of the other options are fully supported, and you can see as I'm maybe I'm a little bigger, but as I change these things change. Right, all of the icon shapes are the same shapes that Clarity lists, and also arbitrary sizing. I think up to I don't know if we put a cap on it or not. Maybe we did. It doesn't look like it. Big as you want. So yeah, this is a really good feature that will be. You're going to see this being leveraged a lot throughout the rest of Octant in upcoming releases. An example is in our modules, we they list all of those icons on the left-hand side. those are just text strings right now that we convert to icons. We'll probably ultimately replace that with you just pass in an icon component. Then it's configurable. It can have a badge. It can have, you can, change colors based on statuses, things like that. So the badge color, I think, is all the standard, like, yeah, so now it's green. So yeah, so that was from Luis. So thank you for that. I think one of the things I forgot to do for some of the newer members of the team was remind everyone to like have demos prepped for release. When we do the community meeting and it's tied to release, we try to demo the things that we worked on. I didn't do a good job of like prepping people for that. So I'm just running through all of the things that other people did. None of this is work I did. This is all work that the team did. So I just want to call that out as I'm going through it. So,
but you do best demos, Wayne.
So we've got, so that's the icon. I'm trying to think if there was labels and selections in a list. Yeah, list components the same. The table stuff. Yeah. So Sam added the ability to expand data rows on tables. So this is part of Clarity. We just exposed it now, so you can leverage it with your plugins. But as you see here, it's these data rows below just take a component, so it can be anything. In this case, it's a card, but that can just be freeform text. It could be markdown. It can be really any component will render there. So use good judgment when you're nesting things in there. That like generally it's I don't know that I would slam another table in there, but I think you probably could. So yeah, this has all the features exposed that you would expect. Trying to find the actual config entry for the expand. There it is, expandable. So there's a new. We have helpers for all of this in the plugin libraries. At least on the Go side, probably need a PR on the JavaScript side to add the easy ability to add an expandable row. But it has, so there's this new expand field, similar to how we do actions, where you can do an underscore actions and you get the actionable items on a table. If you haven't seen that, it looks like this, so that's from this underscore actions, or I think it is rows, hunting, underscore expand. And then I believe this, I don't know what does this flag do? Set it to true. Oh yeah. So the columns, you'll notice when you replace, so there's the ability to expand and keep the columns, or expand and just completely replace the columns. So now that 3-4, they disappear when you see the content. That's nice for when it's a full context switch, right? Where you're like, hey, expand this. Now here's the details of this thing. You don't need any of the column data to deal with this contextual thing right here in front of you. It also just kind of cleans up some of the space for use. So I'm trying to think. What else is on this expandable row config? Sam, was there another item? I feel like I'm missing something.
That's pretty much it. Like, you can also mix and match a bunch of the stuff. So you could hypothetically have grid actions with expandable rows, and it'll do exactly like you'd expect, although it would get a little busy. Other things that are interesting here that we might potentially want is, like, maybe someday we'd like to add more filtering capabilities. Like right now, if you throw content inside of the expandable row, nothing really knows what it is. But I don't think that's a high priority thing, but it could be something that we'd want. Something else to potentially call out is that this is used in the context of let me take a step back. So like Clarity has the concept of a data grid and a table. And this is used in the context of a data grid. So it has the pagination on the bottom right, and you have that filtering things. This, as far as I remember, this is not implemented for plain old tables. So in other words, if you just want a regular simplified table, like so, you don't get any of the expanding or action capability, but that's an implementation detail. Like for the most part, I don't think users will run into this.
Yep. Okay, great. And okay. Yeah, thank you again, Sam, for adding that in. That's very useful. We also have, now I know Milan demoed this at the last community meeting, but it's in now. Some small tweaks to style, but you can see that there's a new styles on the resource viewer. Smoother edges, clean icons, nice readable font. It's yeah, we're really pleased with how it came out. We made some compromises, or not compromises. We wanted to ensure some accessibility, and to do that, we weren't able to use like any pie in the sky colors we wanted. But ultimately, I think we came to some good, reasonable color settings, good saturation levels, and it's very readable and viewable both in dark and light mode. And it just kind of cleans things up, right? Like Milan did add a feature which I can't show in the storybook, but we can show in live Octant, where you can actually double click these now. He demoed that last week too, but so anything that doesn't have multiples being associated with it, you can double click and it will go to that link that you normally would have to expand and click to get into. And then even in views that are really busy, just the color change to me, like, yes, this is still really busy and it's really hard to like make heads or tails of, but I find it less offensive. Just the aesthetic changes are pleasing to me enough that I'm like, oh, okay, let me dig around in here. And before it was just like, here's neon green all up in your face and square edges and no icons. And it was yeah, it wasn't as nice. So Milan did a really good job here working with Isha to get these designs in place and updated. And yeah, I think overall, I'm just really pleased with how it came out. You want to add anything there, Milan?
No, I think that's way better than I demoed last week. Thank you, Wayne. I think it's a great first step. So excited to see, especially on as you said, a busy graphs. We can do better than that, and we talked about that. So a lot of cool stuff hopefully coming in future as well.
Yeah. So for front end changes, I'm trying to, let me see. Oh yeah, this is not in the current release, but Luis removed the resource age column when it's not necessary. It was like a duplicate column that would show up. I wonder if it's in our sandbox example, actually. No, but you would get an age column twice in certain cases. If the resource defined their own, we would also pull the API one and show them both. And this, now we just show one. So that was a nice cleanup change. I think there was, oh yeah. Stepper validation. I don't have anything prepped for this. It might be hard to do on the fly, but I'll try. So
Hey, Wayne.
Yeah.
This might actually be broken now because it's an API change to the validators, and just looking at the schema right here, right? That's like taking in a required as an array, whereas now it's a mapped value.
Oh, maybe we didn't get the story updated.
Yeah, my mistake.
Oh no, it's who reviewed it? Me and Sam. It's our mistake. It's yeah, it was just merged in this morning too, but yeah, we'll get that story updated. That the story updates get pushed out, as I mentioned at the start of this. Story updates get pushed out when they land, so that's not a block for the release. But so I'll just talk about what happens now. previously, and I can pull up the PR here as well. Go. So previously what would happen is when you ran through validators, specifically with the stepper, you could only set a single validator, and you could not really provide it with data in a useful way in the old way that the stepper worked. So Luis refactored this so that essentially everything, all of these validators, I believe, except for compose and compose async. Is that correct? All of them except those two?
Well, all of them receive a value, but actually there are just like 5 of them that you can pass, like min, max, email, no, email not, min length, max length. Yeah, it's like 5 of them that you can modify. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we did is or what here we go, right here. So this is the list that we have, the static list of validators now that you can use. And so min, max, required, true, etc. These can now be set as multi, like you can do a group of validators for fields, which you could not do before. And then you can also set their expected properties or values to validate against. So I can't demo it in Storybook, as Sam pointed out. We need to make that schema change there, but Luis created this set of constants that make it easy to kind of integrate and use them. We'll get those mirrored over on the TypeScript plugin side as well. And I think this overall is just it's a good enhancement to the next step for the stepper, which would be per action or per step actions. So it's kind of on that path of like, okay, how do we make this thing deal with multiple types of validation? Okay, right now, how do we make it deal with synchronous validation where it's a round trip to the server and back? And that'll be part of our forms refactoring as well, which is going to be in the 0.19 release. So this is kind of like similar to the icon component. It's like a step in that direction to bring us to more feature-rich capabilities within Octant. So this is, yeah, really good work on that, Luis. Let's see, we've got the tooltip size on labels to avoid hidden labels. I don't know if that's anywhere in Storybook, but that was an error, like an issue where the tooltip would just like overflow everything and hide labels. And when you hovered on it, like it would, if you had a tooltip for your labels and you hovered, it would hide them all, and it made them hard to click the ones that got hidden. So that updates that. We talked about the resource viewer. Oh yeah, Vikram did some work around plugins. Mentioned this at the last meeting as well, but to continue on that, he extended the plugin API so that the context that is used to make requests to the server can get metadata added to it, so that when you have custom implementations of Octant, or your another example would be like you're writing tests where you want to like test that a plugin actually does go end to end with its data into Octant. You can now do this, which you couldn't do before. Some of the use cases for that are like custom data stores where you want to put in like a token, like an auth token or something like that, to allow you to go access a data store where maybe you don't want to, you want that baked into the code in a way that is not hard coded into Octant. So add action to timeline step. What is this? Oh yeah. So the timeline component, that's a new one too. I don't think we did. I don't know if we showed that. Maybe we did. Sam, I believe. Yeah, Sam, was that correct? Added this one too. Yeah. Sam's been on a component tear lately. He did the demos for how to create new ones, and then was just like, oh, it's fresh on my mind. I'm going to add a bunch of components. So this is the timeline component. It supports all of the clarity steps and like vertical alignment, horizontal alignment. You can add the button groups to it. Those buttons can have actions with confirmations. So if you have a step that you need to retry, you can have that fire an action back into Octant. Octant can listen for that event and then do, or your plugin can listen to that event and then do what it needs to do to initiate the retry. All of the steps have the standard set of state. It's like, I think fail, no, error, aired, no. Oh man, embarrassing. Let's see, where is clarity? I refuse to give up now. Components, timeline. What is this state? States. What? API. Come on, am I blind? Where is it? States. Error.
So you want to go to the API tab on the top, and there is going to be a bindings for clarity state. And so you have not started current processing success.
Where do you, oh, there it is right there. Error. Did I not try error? I swear I tried error. State, error. Undefined. Okay. Hold on. This demo's going downhill. Hold on. Let's get it back. Success. All right. Here. Success. All right. You know what? Refresh the page. That's what it is. Always refresh. All right. It's processing. That's good. Processing is good. Success. Hey, okay. Look at that. Error? Yeah, I don't know what happened. I blame the browsers. So yeah, back to what we were doing. All of the states are supported: current, processing, success, error, and then also the header, title, descriptions. Those are what you're seeing here. Header, I believe step is the title, and then that's the description. And then there's a toggle to make this thing. What's it called? There's a toggle to make it vertical, I believe. Oh no, I want docs. There we go. Vertical. Oh, should have just guessed. It would have been so much cooler if I would have just guessed, and then everyone would be like, "Oh, makes sense." Vertical. There we go. And so now you see it's vertical. And I believe, well, normally the resize isn't captured, but I believe that I believe it just fills the space that it's provided. So if I redo that up here, nope, up one, nope, come on, what? Vertical, true. Maybe not. I don't know why. It does though. I've seen it. I've used it in flex layouts, and it fills there's probably just some box here binding it into that size, but it does fill the space. So thank you for that, Sam. That's a great addition. I think there's definitely some plugins out there that are interested in taking advantage of this. So, and I think, yeah, I can just already see a lot of people using that in pretty neat ways. Let's see. That's the timeline component, metadata. Oh yeah, another one from Sam, which is plugins. This is an outstanding request for a while. And this is plugins can now add multiple tabs. I thought there was a screenshot of it, but well, plugins can add multiple tabs. The way it works is it's an API. It's a API extension. So your existing plugin will continue to work and render a single tab, but you can now register multiple tab handlers on the Go side, where, as you see here in the example, where Sam has registered these 3 tab handlers. Those tab handlers all work with the same set of capabilities that you've registered. So you don't get to divorce the capabilities that your plugin, like the GVK that your plugin handles, from the tabs that you render, but you do get to say, I have multiple tabs that I can render. And inside those tabs, if you wanted to, you could check check the type, that's the request type that's being given to you, and maybe not do a thing. But generally speaking, you're going to want to use this when it is your intention that you want to render 2 tabs for pods, or 2 tabs for a Knative serving object, or 2, like, it's the intention here is that you want to render multiple tabs for the type of object. This was a request that came in from Daniel, who is the author of the Starboard plugin, and had a use case, a very good use case, where it was like, he has a vulnerabilities tab, but then also being able to show a configuration audit tab on the same, because it's for the same object, so on the same screen. So being able to show both of those was kind of the driver there. I think it makes a lot of sense. There's other use cases for wanting to have your plugin extend an object with multiple tabs. So that's in 0.18, and we enabled that both in the plugins, the JavaScript and Go side. So that's the JavaScript API is slightly different. It uses the the multiple return types that are essentially supported by, and I think I have a test that kind of shows it right here. So this tab handler, it can either return a single tab response or multiple tab responses. So here it uses the create tab response helper to build out 2 tabs. So that's just taking advantage of kind of more TypeScript patterns that you would expect, where the return type of a function can be ORed. So it returns a tab response or a list of tab response. That was a little more intuitive on the JavaScript side than having to register multiple tab handler functions, mainly because the JavaScript side doesn't do registration in the same way the Go side does. The JavaScript side does a dependency injection pattern, where it goes in and actually fetches the function out of the code and then runs it, instead of you registering your function with the endpoint and then it being dispatched to. So that's how that ended up, but it works well. And I think, go back and look, I think that covers it. I think that's all of the features and updates. Oh, and then the speed improvements. So there's an outstanding PR, which I think will land today and be in 0.18, which is the memory caching for the CRD navigation entries. I need to take another pass at it, but it's looking good. And so that'll be in for 0.18 as well. And that was related to the work we talked about last week, with just generally speeding things up. There's a few things that won't be in 0.18 that we were looking at maybe getting in. The being able to generate links for components from the Go plugin side, similar to how you can for the JavaScript side. I think we're gonna that'll be pushed to 0.19. The button styling and link options for the text and link, or for the link components, will be pushed to 0.19, and I think that's, yeah, we got most of the things in there. So these are what we didn't get to. The form stuff I mentioned previously that I'll be focusing on for the next release. So And I think that's it. That's all does anyone want to add anything I missed, talk about, highlight something, demo something, show anything before we move on to talking about kind of the plan for O.19 and
I think the only thing to call out based on the changes that we just talked about is that the only breaking API change is that I'm aware of. I could be wrong. I'd have to go through the change logs again, but it should be just the validators as that changes the inputs from just taking an array of validators to a map. Everything else, including the everything else here looks like it's non-breaking.
Yep, that's a good call out, Sam. Thank you. I will we'll be sure to highlight that in the release notes section. I don't know that many folks are using the stepper yet anyway. So I think as we continue to improve it, more people will. And I think I think we should be okay but if you do run into issues while you're using it, please reach out in the Octant channel and we'll get you helped out migrating to the new format. That also reminds me that I want to create an issue in the plugin library for getting new helpers in place for validators. All right. So we've got about 26 minutes left in our scheduled block of time. And what I wanted to do is see if there's any, let's see if there's any questions online anywhere. Nope. Okay. So yes, what I wanted, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I put a question. We can do it at the end too. About the, it's just a thought. You know, it seems that it might be a little easier for us to make a plugin library and Octant in sync if we bring them together, and especially with the npm 7.0 can have different workspaces. So I'm thinking it might be a good idea to kind of merge those two together inside like a monorepo, and so we can make them easier to sync and release them at the same time.
Yeah, that's something to think about. I don't really think it'll make it any easier, right? Like right. I think it's probably just a problem now of like out of sight, out of mind versus like all of the steps you would have to take to keep it up to date, release new npm versions, make sure it stays in sync are the exact same. They just happen in another repo right now.
Right.
So I see what you're saying. The benefit of it being another repo is that it can also have its own set of owners, which there's slowly building up a plugin library community. Like all they care about is the TypeScript plugin libraries and the stuff there. As long as we don't break the Octant API that they talk to, they don't care about Octant. And I think we could probably, by keeping it its own repo, we can then make that a more like the entry point into that repository, and like the scope and like what they're focused on can stay really tailored to that plugin library. But I'm willing to consider I guess what I would say is it's kind of just been neglected a little bit, and
right.
we're mainly because it didn't have an action in place that would automate the releases, and I didn't feel like cutting releases all the time, but now it has actions, so you can push a tag and it pushes a new release, which is like a huge like having that automated is in and of itself is like a big deal. So just from a maintenance side. So I think I would say, let's see how it goes for the next like 2 releases. And if we're still experiencing a lot of drift and a lot of like misses on updates, then I think bring it in so that it's like in our face and in front of us, and figure out how we still, or maybe, yeah. I think that would be the approach I'd want to take, is like see how we do over the next couple releases. Now that there's some actions in place that automate it, and some test harnesses in place to get some of the stuff under test. And then if we're still having a lot of drift, then yeah, I think bringing it in would be good. And then we can always extract it back out, right? Like if we bring it in, like things are going good, we're keeping it up to date. It's got its own cadence. It's got its own like community around it. Then we fork it back out.
Right. No, I definitely see pros and cons of both approaches. So, but something to, think about and keep an eye on in the future. But it's great that we have actions. So that's going to help a lot.
The other thing, this is something that we could add to like maybe our CI/CD as an idea is, because we kind of do this now, where like we scan the area of the code that has been changed, and we could kind of enhance that a little bit and say, like, if it's an area, like if it's in package view components, or if it's in, I guess, yeah, if it's in package plugin or package view components, if there's changes there, then on the like in the because I think we can generate like checklists, like a comment or something that says like, does this require, basically like, does this require plugin library changes? Does it like just have like a, so then it's in your, and you like, you have to like check it off and say, yep, it does, like, no, it doesn't, or yes, it does, as just a reminder for changes like that. That could be a way just to help us prevent us from forgetting to make those updates.
Sorry, can I mention this really quickly? Because I had a similar idea on the same lines, but not in terms of organizing code, but having like a very simple kind of test, which would actually run something like a yeoman generator, just to generate a plugin and run it. And it could be as simple as just running a local local Octant and installing plugin. Because I've had issues where everything works because everything is just like rendered based on the templates, but we never actually run it. So to begin, like we could just like, just install a plugin using Yeoman and see if that works correctly. And then later on, we could just, have it interact with Octant as an integration test, maybe, because like there have been a couple of times where the error actually occurs later after the plugin is installed. So
yeah. I mean, I like that idea. I like, and I know Sam has brought this up a few times as well. Just general testing ideas around how do we get our plugin APIs like end-to-end tested and under tested, and like even to a degree, how do we get Octant under like actually talking to an API and under test? And one of the things that kind of makes this easier is the fact that we can now plug in our own, we can plug in an object store and plug in our own cluster client, which can just return fake data to the calls, which will allow Octant to start. And like if we, one of the thoughts I had was like just essentially recording the API calls, similar to like what you do for there's like a few libraries out there for like testing various cloud providers where you enable it, you do the calls you want, it records the API calls, and then you turn it off. Instead of record mode, it's in replay mode. And then in replay mode, it just is exactly that, a replay of all the events that happened while you were recording. And for the purposes of testing, that seems like perfect for what we want, right? Like record a set of actions. It's very much what was that browser testing framework where you would go and actually like record your clicks and then play them back?
Cypress?
Yeah.
Selenium?
Selenium. Yeah. Like Selenium, right? Like where you go through and you record everything and then play. It's that, but for API calls. And I think that would probably be easier than trying to spin up kind or run and maybe it's not anymore, but I know originally when we were trying to stand up a kind cluster or a minikube cluster and then have Octant talk to it and then assert that the UI of Octant was doing the right thing, it was just difficult to do that reliably. And I'm wondering if we can do that more reliably with a pre-recorded fake set of API responses.
I really like the idea of having that. And yeah, I'm excited to get started on it because I think we can catch many errors if we run integration tests of any kind.
Yeah, I agree. If you are excited to do that, Vikram, I would encourage you to open an issue and start a discussion, either one, and start to describe how you might attack this problem, and we can iterate there. And then because the moment we kind of have consensus on how we want to attack the problem, it's going to be a priority for whoever wants to work on it. It's something we've been kicking around a long time, but just haven't done yet.
Yeah, definitely. I've been contemplating writing issue. It's just that I'm currently taken by my existing issue, but yeah, I'll definitely write the issue for writing integration tests.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, good question, Milan. That generates some good discussion. Before we move on, and I talk about 019, is there any other things for the open Q&A? Okay. I'll circle back to it at the end and see. So we're going to kind of shorten up this next release and target it for April 7th. So don't expect a lot of big features in it. What we're mainly doing is we're going to focus on getting some of those last little bits of form updating into the release. We want to get some of the final bits of the component updates and integrating that new icon component into Octant. And then we also will take this time to address some of the issues that we've been putting into our product excellence backlog. As a reminder, the product excellence backlog is kind of our way of cataloging and making a priority our tech debt, essentially, things that are not easily demoable, or hey, look at what you get now because we did this, but the long-term health of the project and the overall experience that you get release after release improves as we address these product excellence things. So and then any bugs that do shake out from 0.18 will if they get reported within the next couple weeks, we'll also get those addressed. So a little bit shorter sprint, not as much features, more of just I wanted to get out of essentially what this is I wanted to get out of the habit of being oh no, 0.18 is not ready, we're going to push till next week. Oh, it's not ready. Instead, we'll cut what we have, and then we'll do a shorter one and cut what we have. It's a more iterative process. It feels a little better to actually be releasing things. It gets us into a nice cadence and a nice rhythm. And with a larger team, it'll be important that we're doing our releases more on a schedule as we can. It's obviously not a rigid schedule, but the amount of work that we're able to complete now in a shorter period of time is enough to warrant a release. And honestly, when it was myself, Sam, and Milan for a while, it would take us a while to get enough things to warrant a release. It'd be we'll wait a week because we don't really have enough yet. So with the team doubling, it's as you saw just from this release cycle, 0.17 to 0.18 was much shorter, and the amount of features we got in much higher. And this is with many members of the team onboarding during that period of time as well, right? Who are all doing excellent, by the way. So thank you to all the new members of the team, Luis, Vikram, Felipe, doing an amazing job. And thanks to Milan and Sam for onboarding and being patient and pairing and helping to get everyone onboarded. It's been really great so far. So really appreciate the effort from everyone. So we have 13 minutes left. I think what I'll do right now. So the team is going to plan O.19, which is basically just going to be a shift. Like some of the things we didn't get in O.18, like this ain't going to be in O.19. Like like these two right here. Who are we kidding? Like I'll just move those. I'll move those to O.20 right now because that's not going to happen. Yeah, no. So what we'll do is I want to go through quickly for the community, kind of what we're planning for O.19, and then the team will take offline and we're going to add some context to issues probably tomorrow, just so that each member of the team can easily go in and like tackle an issue and solve it. We had kind of a trouble with some of our issues this last sprint where they just didn't have enough context and enough detail to make them like, you'd start on them and then halfway through you'd realize, oh, this is wrong, or oh, I got to shift directions, and a little frustrating on some of them for the people who were working on them. So to avoid that, we're still gonna plan our releases publicly, and then separately, either in the channel or synchronously in a separate video, we're gonna just add that context. But that context will be added to the issues as comments so everyone can see them. We'll also be doing some of the good first labeling or good first issue labeling in that process as like things fall out and we move them to different releases. So expect to see some traffic and activity on the issue board, like tomorrow and late this week and early next week as we flesh out all of the specifics for O.19. But with the little bit of time we have left, I'll just cover. I think my summary covered it, right? Like we're shortening it up, focus on getting form updates in there, product excellence bugs and product excellence stuff for tech debt, and then any bugs from O.18. If there is an issue that's really important to you, and you go and you look in O.19 and you don't see it, comment on the issue and say, hey, is this something that you all can do for O.19? And we'll let you know. And I would say anything that gets a comment between now and the next community meeting is a maybe. After next community meeting, then it'll have to wait until O.20. So get your feedback in there now. If there's anything that's important to you, we'll try to see if we can get it into this shorter cycle. But again, it is a shorter cycle. So April 7th is the target for O.19. And I think that's it. I feel like I've talked enough. I've talked a lot. 50 minutes. Jeez. Does anyone else want to talk before we go? No one. Okay, great. Well, I appreciate everyone's hard work on this release. Look for it later today, folks. And yeah, we'll set up some time to plan our O.19 and add context to the issues. I'm going to start moving some things into there so that we have a backlog we'll just set up a meeting and go down each one and make sure that they're ready to be worked on. But so watch out for that from me. And that's all I have. Okay, well, that's it then. No one else has anything. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you next week.